Hello, everybody. Okay, so apologies for yesterday's stream. I started doing the Teenage Ninja Turtles cover, but I was in zombie mode, so tired. I actually fell asleep for 3 hours after I turned it off. You probably heard me yawn a million times. I wasn't very talkative. I was gonna delete the video, but I'm gonna leave it up just so you could see what sometimes the life of a comic book artist can be when you're running on 3 hours of sleep. I've been having crazy deadlines recently, and my dog kept me up all night, so excuses. But anyway, we're back here today with some sexy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, inking some turtles now. It is cool. So I'm doing some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles inks. This is a stowaway cover. This means that this cover may never see the light of day, but it is something that IDW does. Where, let's say there's a trade coming out or a comic and they need a cover, well, they've got a bunch in the back stock that they can use. So hopefully this will see the light of day. I would love to see this printed with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles logo across the top. That'd be awesome. But in other news, I want to talk about my other project with Image Comics, which was just announced yesterday. Spawn Kills Everyone #2. So this is the second volume of Spawn Kills Everyone. There was one issue that came out, I think last year. And by the way, that's my dog snoring, because this is a Will Robson stream. It wouldn't be one without a dog snoring. So, yeah, this was announced last night at Image Expo 2018. Tom McFarlane himself came on stage, announced this book, said my name, which is crazy, because if anybody knows my channel, if anybody knows anything about my art, they know that I'm a huge Tom McFarlane fan, so him even saying my name, even though I've been in contact with him for about a year now making this book, is insane. So we're going to bring you 4 issues of this book. Tom McFarlane's writing it. I'm pretty much doing all the art, pencils and ink wise, but he's inking a page or two, and he's inking some covers. So that's awesome to have, my favorite inker of all time inking over my stuff. Crazy stuff, right? So anyway, he announced last night that we got all these little baby spawns here, these little cute guys running around being adorable, that he's been farting out of his butt, and he doesn't know why, and they're going to help him kill a bunch of people, because it Spawn Kills Everybody. And look, I even have a Felix the Cat in there as a ode to McFarlane for him always putting Felix the Cat in Amazing Spider-Man. So, that was announced. We got Greg Menzies on colors, a fantastic colorist. Really excited to be working with him once again, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. Now, I see that there's no chat popping up again, which is very frustrating, so I'm going to have to check my phone. 1 second, folks. Let me check my phony phones to see if there has been any comments come through, because I want to be able to respond when people message me. So give me 2 seconds, because I am slow. Where is YouTube on my phone? Under fun. That's weird. Let's have a look. Oh my god, this... Come on, stupid phone. Come on! Okay, there's been no comments so far, so I'm hoping that means that these comments will pop through. I will check in a little while to see if those comments are working. Anyway, let's get back to this. This needs to get done today, so I figured I'm going to pretty much, if you guys are up for it, stream me finishing off the whole thing. So I'm using a fine liner 2, which is a custom brush that I created. And it's on 0.2, but I think I want to be on a 1.5, yeah. And I have stabilization down here. See this? Stabilization on 100. I have another brush where it's on 20, which is more of a super loose one. But this kind of is like having a built-in French curve on everything that you draw. So the lines are a lot smoother, come out nicer. And since the screen, because I'm working on an iPad Pro, since the screen of an iPad Pro is super sleek, which isn't super great for drawing, you sort of slip across it. This really helps with smoothing out inks. So let's get to it. This is Donnie here. As I was saying yesterday, well, what's going on with the shoulder? Looks like I didn't really properly draw it. With Donnie, he is slimmer in his limbs and tall, because that's how I pictured Donatello. And yeah, I like to change up the physiques of the turtles. Everyone does it. It's not anything new. And I'm gonna get to it. I'm having a problem with these delts. That's that. That's fine. Okie doke. So it was very exciting last night. I was just about to go to bed, and I was kind of up a bit too late. I usually go to bed I get into bed at about 9 o'clock with my fiance. She goes on her phone. I now am drawing my independent comic, Leave None Alive, which actually I'll give you guys a look at, because I think I finishing the pencils for issue 1. This is the pencils for page 1, so I was doing this last night. A lot of good fun. I think I'm going to freehand a lot of these backgrounds to make them look a bit more natural and not so stiff like my other stuff. So I was doing this last night. I'm playing with this 3D model of this church up here. I'm going to try and beef it up and make it look more traditional. So we got the church. Is our main character Elizabeth. She's confessing to a priest that looks a lot like what's his name from Image Comics? The guy I can't remember. One of the founding members. Wow, I just realized he looks exactly like him, so that's weird. I'm gonna have to change that. She's confessing, goes into a flashback. She is telling her mum, like, Mum, come quick. She goes to the door. She's like, look, it's Dad. And the mum's like, oh, Elizabeth, for the last time, you know, your dad's not coming home. We'll go visit his headstone tomorrow. And she goes, but it is Dad. He's right there. So, and then there's a ghost of her father there, because she's talking about how she's a medium and she can communicate with ghosts. So I really like the way this first page is coming out. Full of detail, which is what I'm trying to do. I really want this to be over-the-top detail like Greg Capullo on Spawn. I just want the art to be the standout point where people go like, wow, look at all those little lines. Because since I'm not on a deadline with this, I can really put in a ton of work. So I'm working on this, but today these little jabronis are the focus point. Yeah, it was crazy hearing McFarlane chat about the book. I didn't know that he was going to be announcing it. We're doing 4 issues together. And I don't know when they'll be out. I believe I'll probably be done. It takes me 2 months an issue, because I have a bit more time on this. So 2, 4, 6. 6 months. So I should be done around September with the book. And then the book will be probably released October time, I would say. But yeah, really exciting stuff. Is Donnie's forehead too big there, or is that fine? It looks a little bit big. Let's change that up. But yes, apologize for yesterday, for being tired on the podcast. I do want his head to be a bit taller, because it makes him look more brainy, if that makes any sense. But I'm really excited to not only be working with McFarlane, who's obviously a huge hero of mine, but like I said, I'm working on my creator-owned book, which I've been writing it. I came up with the idea in 2015 for the book after watching really bad horror movies and thinking, man, I wish there was a horror movie like this. And I was like, well, why don't you just make it? So I'm making it. And I've rewritten me and my brother, because he's helping me write it. He's the co-writer of the story. We've written, I think I've written in total 17 drafts of the first issue. All completely different stories, starting at different points, because it's a massive story. I plan on it to be, you know, if it actually gets made, to be at least 100 issues long. That's my goal. I want it to be, you know, a franchise type thing. It's a story that has lots of, you know, you're gonna follow this character, as she grows up. So she starts as a 16-year-old girl with flashbacks to her when she was a kid, and we're probably going to end when she's about 27, I would say. I love stories like that. One of the things that when I was a kid I loved was Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball, like I started watching Dragon Ball and then seeing a show where he's like suddenly an adult and everything changes. I always thought that was really great. I love seeing those time lapses like that. Same in The Walking Dead as well. So we're doing Donnie's mask here. Now, I usually on the turtles I draw like the big, loose things, but they don't really make much sense with how thick the mask is, so I'm going for more of a thicker tie in the back. Oops, that's the wrong brush. I'm sure the stream is a bit early for people, as it's early in the morning here in the UK. I'll erase this. So I thought it was too thick at the base. That's what she said. This is the strap that holds Donnie's kendo stick. Is it a kendo stick? I don't know what the term is for his weapon. Is it kendo stick? Or is that the stick that they use in wrestling? Now I'm erasing this because these shapes were too similar. You really want to vary this stuff to make it pop a bit more. If it's all just the same shape, it looks very boring. So I'm adding different pinch and pull points there. I always drew Donnie with a bit of a loose wrap around his stick, like the tape's been loosened over times in battle, so that's what I'm doing here. And I'm going to make this line a bit wobbly, because I don't want his stick to be super straight like it's made out of plastic. I want it to read that it is definitely a bit of wood. So lots of exciting stuff going on for me right now. But the thing, truthfully, the thing I'm most excited about is Leave None Alive. I really want to get this story out there. Since I said it's 100 issues, so it's going to be long. I don't think I haven't drawn 100 comics in my life. I think maybe I've drawn probably 45 comics in my life, which is nuts to think that I would tackle something this big. But everyone says you should start out small, not go for your maxis opus or whatever that word is. You know, your final big project. But I believe in the story so much that I want to see it done before I'm an old man, and it's probably going to take me a good 15 years to get it done, so I might as well start now. So let me just check my phone just in case the comment stuff isn't working again, and if it isn't, then I will just periodically pop in and check. Let's have a look at the chat. No, the chat's empty. Okay, that's fine. I get it. I'm not super famous. It's fine. No one wants to chat with me. And I'm going to go back to my fine liner that is a loose stabilization, and I'm going to add in some wood-like texture. Now the thought behind this is doing these little curves here like this and adding a little spiral to show that that's where once a branch was coming off of this bit of wood. You don't want to add too many, just every now and then. Think of it like a tree, like where else would there be a branch coming off? Like over here, right? So we add another little branch there. Adding some squiggly U's is what my thoughts behind that. And breaking up the line so that it's not all just... You don't want to go like this, right? Like sometimes this pattern works like this, but that's too much in my personal taste. I like these broken lines to show that they're all different depths. Because, I mean, every single one of these little inks is when you think about inking, I just think about everything I'm drawing is shadow. Like you are creating light, so that's why there'd be like a bit of thickness down there to show that's going in a bit more. Another thought process of this is if you see something like tie-dye in a bucket or something, you swirl it with a paintbrush and you see all these colors blend into each other without actually touching. If that makes any sense, that's sort of my thought process behind it. You make sure the line width is very thin. You don't want to have thick on this, otherwise the detail would stand out. This is a background detail element. All of your background detail elements, like this, these little details, they should be thin. Like if you look on Leave None Alive, I'm doing the same thing with the wood textures in the background there. I've got some stone back there. You see the wood here. That's obviously rough pencils of what I do with the wood, but it eventually will look like this. And colorists can do really cool stuff with this texture as well. And again, try to vary the lines a lot. If you look, I'm going to erase this here because I just drew 3 of the exact same lines, similar looking lines, and I was not happy with it. And now I'm going to curve these into this so it looks a bit rounded at the top. I was watching some of my streams and I realized I barely talked about what I was thinking at the time of doing stuff, so I'm trying to help you guys out by sharing a bit more insight into my thought process of this stuff. And there we go. If you zoom out, see, you can barely see when you zoom out what's going on there, but you know there's a texture there. Once the colors are in there, you'll barely see that as well. But for me, it's that little extra detail that makes me know that it's my art. If that makes any sense. Because I have fun doing it. You got to find the fun in this job. So I'm still fully using the iPad Pro. I have not gone back to the Wacom Cintiq. I would still think that the Wacom Cintiq is better for drawing, but this is portability over function for me. It was definitely a learning curve to get used to all the new settings, because my brushes do not work the same on here than they do on my Windows PC. Some of them were hard to translate over, but now I've been using this tablet now since November, so about 4 months. I've definitely gotten better at using it. So these lines I'm adding at the outside of this little thing here is just to show that this is a separation of shapes, but also this is sort of where I would think that the sewing line would be. So there's material covering it up. A few wrinkle lines in these corners to show that it's a floppy, saggy bag. And that's what she said. This is down here is the continuation of this. So where would this meet? So it would meet there. Got a big belt on. Right, I'm going to go back to a looser brush. This here is the outer rim of the turtle shell. And the way I'm thinking about drawing this, because sometimes it's hard to draw a certain thing. Like, I've always struggled with clouds. I could never get it, but until I thought about it in a different way, because I could always draw afros on people, you know, like afro hair. And then I sort of put that, like, well, why don't you draw clouds but draw afro hair? And that works. So with this here, this is like, when I'm actually drawing in my mind here, coming up with these little shapes, is a long stream of chewed up bubble gum. And I'm like, oh, I know how that would look, so I can draw that. So that's my thought process. Or popcorn, but I'm thinking bubble gum, like it's real loose. So that's a tip that definitely I think works. If you are like struggle to draw certain things, try and think of it, especially any element. Try and think of it in a different way. A lot of people say with fire, just draw hair, or with hair, just draw fire. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. His shoulder shouldn't be popping out here. This should be his shell. Let's kick shell. I think the artist on the IDW Turtle series is amazing. Matthias, I believe his name is. He's one of my favorite comic book artists. Let me check the chat just to see if anything's going on. No. So lonely. I'm going to just put a message through on the chat to see if it works. give a thumbs up. Okay, so I could see the chat that you were just chatting there, but it's not popping up. I guess there must be some sort of fault with the program, sadly. The way I'm sitting, I can't look at the chat, but I will come back to it. So please, if you're in the chat, drop any questions, and then in a little while, I'll go back, take a look, and answer them. I think something bold that the Turtles book did recently was well, not recently, I guess it's kind of a bit older now. They had Donatello basically near death. Bebop and Rocksteady, spoiler alert by the way, Bebop and Rocksteady beat Donatello to a pulp and they cracked his shell. So he was close to death. So they moved his consciousness, consciousness, I think is the right word. Conscious? Is it conscious? I don't know. Anyway, they moved his thoughts into the classic metal turtle. And I thought that was really cool. Like a really cool story thing. A really cool story thing. So again, I'm going to keep using this looser brush here to do this shell pattern on his back. And I'm not convinced at how... Do I want to do the spiral? I know a lot of people do like the spiral like this. That's why I drew in a little spiral there. I'm not convinced if that's the way I want to approach this yet. So if you look, I have bigger shapes here, and then they get smaller and smaller as they go this way to show that the shapes are curving away from our eyes. And that's something you can do with anything. Do I want to leave that open? Because there's a lot of... You see, there's detail here. There's detail here. Would it become too muddy if I added detail here? I think what I'll do is I'll test it out. Let's create a new layer. Just creating this spiral effect, trying not to repeat the lines too much. I think that's too much. Right? It's too much stuff going on there. I just don't like the way that looks. So I'm going to leave them blank. If you look at Mikey's show, it actually looks a bit different there. That's fine. Oop, actually, I just realized there's no... I need to show a bit of shell popping out over Raph here. So we got a little bit of shell there to show that he indeed has a shell on the back of him. Because they are turtles. Oh man, actually, look at Mikey. I did his shell completely differently. Well, that's fine. It's good to, I guess, show a bit of variation even on the shell stuff. This is not like I'm drawing this constantly, so it's fine to have stuff appear differently. Okay. Oops, I drew that on that layer. Let's combine these layers so that that little... What did I do there? Is that right? Let's click on do. I don't trust what I did there. What do I combine it with? Combine showing line. Combine selected layer. There we go. Alright, let's do his eyeballs. And then now I'm going to go and use my handy dandy pupil brush. My pupil. I love when I put the pupils in and they don't look right yet. Like they look scary. Like his eye here doing out. Let's make this pupil a bit bigger. Looks good. Erase the extra lines to cover that up. And bablamo. He has pupils. Instant life when you add the pupils. And really my pupil is, it's a, oops. Circle. And another circle in between, and I leave a bit of white in the middle. And then I cut out a circle shape here, and I erase that. That's a highlight in the eye. That's going to be white. And then I just thicken up the top going in, and then the top here as well. Sometimes if I want to make the eye seem a bit darker, I might darken that up, and I might add a bit of a color fade there to show a bit of darkness. Okay, I didn't realize he's got his claw down here. That's good. Let's go back to our more stable brush because I don't want it to be too wobbly. Like you see his thumb here, it made it too wobbly. Now, I need to check. I'm going to turn on... So I have a perspective ruler going for the perspective. Because I've already drawn the railing down here. And he's holding onto a bar. So, let's see what perspective this bar would be in. Oh, it's pretty close to what I made it out to be. So, let's just do that. Let's try again. I want it to be... That's a good thickness. Cool. And then we'll erase to show that his thumb is over. Actually, is his thumb supposed to be over or is it supposed to be under? Under, yeah. Okie doke. Close off that line underneath Leo because there is a line there. Go back, turn the perspective ruler off, and now we got him holding a bar. It's not the best hand I've ever drawn. This thumb actually needs to be bigger. But you're not really going to see it in the big scope of things in the background like that. Now what am I doing for the sides? I can't remember. I'm going to have to go on the internet. I've been looking at churches for Leave None Alive here. Let's have a look here. What do we want to search? Teenage Turtles. IDW. Now this is the other nice thing about having this tablet is I have all of this stuff here at my disposal to go right into it. Oops. Oh, I like their knee pads and stuff. I wish I did that. Whatever. It's too late now. I see that they've done the spiral pattern on the back of their shield. What? Why can't I think of the word? Shell. Thank you very much. It kind of just looks like a bit of cloth there. Guess everyone does it a bit differently. Yeah, I would say it looks like a bit of cloth. I like the detail. I need to add that detail to the belts. I like that strap. I'm going to keep this image up, actually. Santa Luca, that's the name of the artist. He's dope. Okay. What does he do for the chest bits? Pretty average, though they stick out a bit. Alright, so it's just a bit of a pattern, which I think is pretty cool. I would say this is that's probably the most awkward part to draw on a turtle, is that little side bit there. But it's done. I'll probably add a couple of little lines into the shell, but not to the extent that I was doing before. Right, let me check the chat as it doesn't pop up in here to see if I've missed anything. Nope. Everyone's asleep. And everyone hates me. I get it. guess what, the shells cover their butts? Yeah, they do. But I have a shell there. It's fine. I got this weird area here that probably should be covered in shell. Again, if you put a lot of detail into work, you can cover up a lot of your flaws that are going on. Some wraps around his knee, so I'm just going to erase some lines so I can put some material popping out in. And then what happens with the feet? That's not the reference I originally looked at. How you spell his name? Matthias Santoluco. This was the image I originally looked at for reference. Yeah, the wrappings all around their feet. I like that. Up to their ankles. That's cool. Man, wrap, I barely put any detail. I need to go back and add a bit more detail into the foot wraps around some of these guys. We got ourselves a Donnie. So now I'm going to select around him. See if there's any closed off space. Oops, we forgot to close off his leg here. So we're going to select around him again. He's closed off shape now, and then we need to hold down Shift here so we can add an extra selection. He's all selected, and then we're going to create a size 3 outline. Now these actions I created, they have a bunch of steps in them, which is what I would do to create an outline. So I just click this button and boom, got an outline. Drag that underneath to the bottom layers and whammo. This makes my life a lot easier. And then the spots that it hasn't picked up, like these, oops. What happened there? There you go. I don't know what happened there. The spots that it's missed, like this here. Ooh. Alright. Doop, doop. Doop. I just filled it in on the layer that we drew it on. So I really like Donnie's details. He's actually the best looking turtle. I really need to up the detail on Raph because he is front and center. And if Donnie has more detail than him, then that's not going to look great. So Raph is going to have to... I'm going to have to go back in and add some more wraps around his legs and really make him stand out a bit more. But first we need to add the outlines to Donnie. So I'm going to take a flat marker. This marker has no line width variation. It is just a single line. I think, what is it? Is it 5? Is this right? Yeah, 5. 5 width to match the width of the outline we created. And I'm just going to put these lines around it so that all the shapes inside of the big shape we've made pop out a bit more. Now this is a step that Freddie Williams, who created this way of drawing, does not do, and I know Jonathan Rector, who also uses this method of drawing, does not use. But it's a little extra step that I add just so that everything that I want to stand out as being a separate layer is standing out. Oops. And funnily enough, this is a step in the art that sometimes, well actually only once, I've hired someone else to do for me. When I first got the gig on Star-Lord, which was my first Marvel comic I did, I was freaking out because the gig, I wasn't prepared for the deadline. I had to get 15 pages done in 28 days. So what I did was I hired a guy called Greg Menzie to do this step for me. Just adding these extra outlines inside the art. And that definitely sped up production because I would just be done, hand it off to him, wait for him to come back with those little lines, and ready to move on from that. And it definitely helped out a lot. Sometimes I've been thinking about doing it anytime I'm in a real deadline jam, but nothing of recent. But funny enough, that guy is now going to be colouring Spawn Kills Everyone with me. It's pretty cool. He's always been messaging me over the years, showing me his art. I gave him tips on how to improve. His colours have come such a long way from where they were. He was right place, right time. He was like, hey, do you have any samples that I could work on? And so I just gave him a bunch of Spawn pages. I said, here you go, try these out. I thought he was going to maybe colour 1 or 2. He ended up colouring about 6 of them. And they were really good, so I was like, hey, I'm going to share this with Todd. And maybe you'll get the job. And he's got the job, so that's awesome. It's his first gig for a big company. Well, he's worked for Titan before. He did Wolfenstein. But it was really nice to help somebody else break in because I know the struggle. The struggle is real. And he keeps thanking me, but he deserves it because his art's great and he was ready. I have no problem if people want to message me, sending me their art. I've got no problem with that. I get a lot of that. I like doing that. I like helping people, especially, people like Greg, who sent me his art for a while, and now he's working in the business. It's awesome. And he's working with me, which is even better. But I do get a lot of people that message me their art who think that they're ready to break into comics, but they're not. They have a high opinion of themselves and their artwork, and they do not take criticism well. Because I'm very blunt. Like, I do not like to sugarcoat anything, because I do not like to be sugarcoated with. I'm always about honest opinion about my artwork, because I just want to get better. So that's what I do to other people. I'm very brutally honest with them. You need to work on this, that, the other. But some people just don't listen, and they go, "No, I'm ready," or "I know everything." I tell them, I'm like, "You need to study this. You need to go read this book." They say, "I do all that. I've done all that." And I'm like, "Yes, but you have to realize that you will be doing this for the rest of your life. Just because I'm drawing for Marvel Comics and stuff does not mean I am, the best artist in the world. I'm not. I have a lot to learn. I'm still learning every day, picking up little tricks just randomly. Like, randomly recently, I was watching the Exorcist TV show, and there was a guy in it that had very defined neck muscles. And I was looking at his neck muscles, something I've studied a million times. And I saw the way a certain ligament was sticking out of his neck, and I was like, "Oh, that ligament's over that other ligament. I thought it was under." And then I would go and look at all my favorite artists, like Todd Knock and stuff, and I'd see the way they draw necks, and I go, "Oh, yeah, that ligament is over that ligament. Oh, okay. Now I know how to draw that." It's crazy when that stuff still happens today. But yeah, like I said, if people want me to look at their art, I'm happy to take a look and give my critiques, but be warned, you may not like what you hear, but you will need to hear it. Some people need a smack of reality. That's right, Luna. Snort, snort. Snore, snore. She's bored by my conversation, apparently. Messed that line up, so I'm going to redo that there. You might see comments popping up on the top of my video. That's because the Spawn book was announced and I shared a bunch of crap involving that, so I'm sure there'll be lots of little things popping up as people start to wake up. Because it's early in the morning. Early in the morning. Early in the morning, baby. Oh, it is early in the morning. In the morning, it is early, baby. I was a blues singer in my past life. Way on the water. I almost did the thumb again without putting the line over it. I don't know what it is about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles I love so much. I love all the villains. I really, as a kid, more than the animated series, I loved the video games. For Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Anytime, like I have a Super Nintendo. Well, I don't have a Super Nintendo. I have a Retro Pi, which has all of these old games on it. But anytime my go-to games are Streets of Rage and Turtles in Time, or there's a bunch of Turtles games that I'm into, and there's even a ROM hack of Streets of Rage 2, but you can play as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is just the greatest thing ever. Me and my brother were playing that when we did our live stream the other day. A God, the music in those games is so good. Oh, I need to add the Ray's pizza. Little thing I was going to add. This is a shout out to anybody that ever lived in the tri-state area. Everyone knows. Gotta eat at Ray's Pizza. I'm gonna copy that. Copy, paste. Retransform. Put another one over here. Free transform so I can move the text around. Gotta go to Ray's. Gotta go to Ray's now. Anybody that grew up in New Jersey knows that as the Moe's advert. Gotta go to Moe's. I've recently been watching, because I grew up in America, for anybody that doesn't know that. From age 7 to 20, I lived in America. Recently I was watching old TV commercials from that time, and some of them were just a huge nostalgia kick of like, oh my god, I remember this so much. Right, we got the main turtles done. I'm gonna go back into Ralph. That's the new turtle. His name's Ralph. Ralph Al. I'm gonna go back into Raph here. And I'm going to just make him look a bit more interesting, because he looks pretty boring right now to me. Add a few extra wrapping lines here. add some. I might as well just do it on this layer as well. Add some more to Mikey too. Don't know why I added so little before. But it just adds, adding these lines just adds a bit of extra detail in empty space. The empty space I'm talking about is their skin. Like if you zoom out, then suddenly this all becomes nice and grey there, so there's a bit more grey popping out. And we'll add some more to Leo as well. And for some reason I have proper wrapped up. Whatever. Again, I like how they're all customly looking a bit different. Okey-doke. So the fun bit of the drawing is done, which is doing the turtles. Now I have to do the unfun bit, which is the background. Wah, wah, wah. So before I get started with that, let me just write in big text. Be right back. I'll be right back, guys. I need a little break. I'll see you in a second. I'm going to leave the stream on. Let me put my pen on charge as well. Just going to have a fag break. Be right back, guys. You know you're getting old when you get up and you have to go.